So yesterday, a lot of back and forth over mask mandates and the ruling that came down late Friday to ultimately say that the governor's mask mandate's null and void. We had, of course, some school districts that went remote. Others went on business as usual. And here to review some of that, I'm Greg Bishop on the WMAY morning news feed now at 6:38. So we had some school districts in the area do a variety of different things. In District 186 for Springfield Public Schools, they said it was business as usual. And they did indicate that a large number of students were wearing masks. A large number of staff were wearing masks. Rochester reporting to the SJR that 50 to 75%, depending on the school in Rochester, were wearing masks. And this is all despite the temporary restraining order that was issued by Sangamon County Judge Raylene Grishow. We'll talk about some of the reaction to that ruling from Governor J.B. Pritzker, and then also the rebuttal from Attorney Thomas DeVore, separate from our conversation we had with him yesterday here on these airwaves. But you also had what's considered a lot of chaos, especially when it comes to other school districts all across the state. And the Chicago Tribune has a pretty comprehensive list of the way different schools have been reacting to this. For instance, CUSD 304 took an emergency day in Geneva. Chicago Public Schools, they said that their COVID-19 protocols agreed through collective bargaining are remaining in place. So interesting to see how some of these districts are ultimately handling all of this. But yesterday you did have Governor J.B. Pritzker, who addressed the ruling, and he had some choice words to share. He provided a statement, and then he took some questions at a separate event in Chicago. And I reached out to Attorney Thomas DeVore to get his reaction to the governor. Now, we talked with Tom early yesterday morning before the governor took to the podium, so I wanted to get Tom's direct response as well to Governor J.B. Pritzker. So you're going to hear that back and forth. It's about 4 minutes here, but it's Governor J.B. Pritzker, and then Attorney Thomas DeVore, and then the governor, and then DeVore back and forth, kind of touching on some of the major issues that have been raised from this ongoing case when it comes to mask mandates. So again, here is Governor J.B. Pritzker talking about the ruling from Sangamon County Judge Raylene Grishow, and it's right here on the WMAY morning news feed.
Judge Raylene Grishow's ruling is out of step with the vast majority of legal analysis in Illinois and across the nation.
Judge Donald Schieffer, Judge April Tromper, Judge Wellborn, Judge Foster, Judge Grunke, Chief Judge Jarman of Illinois all issued rulings that agreed with April Tromper's analysis. Every one of them. That's the legal analysis of the issues that are pending in front of Judge Grishow. Every one of those judges agreed with her in their rulings. So to say that she's out of step with the vast majority of legal analysis in Illinois is 100% false, because the other decisions that he would like to try to rely upon don't even deal with the issue that's in front of Judge Grishow right now.
The judge's decision cultivates chaos for parents, families, teachers, and school administrators across the state. And I've asked Attorney General Kwame Raoul to seek to have the ruling overturned with all possible speed. Well, the judge has created a tremendous amount of confusion, even in the way she wrote her decision. Sure that we're getting an appeal heard as soon as possible so that we can, rid ourselves of the fog of the, a frankly not good decision by the Sangamon County Court.
He created the chaos. It wasn't COVID. It wasn't my clients. The chaos lies with the governor. He created the chaos by going down these arbitrary, authoritarian dictates of an executive with intimidation and coercion and manipulation of people. That created the chaos in this state, and it's pitted people against each other. He's responsible for that 100%.
That was not the legal argument that was made. The legal argument had to do with a particular law that's in place they're referring to that requires due process 48 hours after someone is asked to wear a mask. And they've misread, the judge has misread this, the people who are suing have misread this.
I know what he says, and one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 judges, including Judge Grishow now, disagree with him. This has everything to do with due process. He wants to stand there and talk about, oh, the tools, the tools. This is not about the tools. It's about who gets to put those tools into effect in the state. He wants to make it about the tools. It's not. It's about how do you create those tools? How do you implement those tools? And how do you enforce those tools?
I have consulted with legislators throughout the pandemic, Republicans and Democrats. I've pointed out to many people that the very earliest moment when we put a mask requirement in was a moment in which I went to discuss this with a Republican legislator. And actually, he was very encouraging about this is something we need to do right now. The minority leader in the House, someone else who also believed that we needed to be very careful in our schools. Again, this is all conversation that's been going on for quite some time now. The legislature has had an opportunity to weigh in. People have weighed in various ways. There are bills even being considered now.
And to say, well, I've consulted with certain members of the legislature, including the minority House leader, and that's not our system of government, Greg. You convene in the General Assembly and you let the people watch and you let them see. You don't have these side conversations with leaders of the party. That's how tyrants operate. That's not how governing bodies work. It doesn't even make any sense. But he's so blind to our system of government that he thinks having conversations with one or two people in the House or the Senate is tantamount to respecting the legislative process. It's unbelievable.
So again, that's Attorney Thomas DeVore rebutting some of what Governor J.B. Pritzker had to say yesterday in response to the mask mandates being on a temporary hold by the judge's order out of Sangamon County. Now, when it comes to the appeal that the governor said he hopes is done with speed, it could be early next week before we even hear about that appeal. But one thing that's important to note here is right now we're just talking about the temporary restraining order. We're not actually talking about the merits of the case, the merits of the underlying issues. And that's something that's still going to be playing out in a legal process. So the temporary restraining order is just one element of this ongoing litigation. And that's something that now is going to be up to the appeals court as to whether to stay that temporary restraining order while this case plays out, or to leave the temporary restraining order in place, prohibiting masks from being required while this process continues to play out. But the underlying issues have yet to really be addressed. There's indication from reading Judge Grishow's ruling on which way she's going, especially with the conversation about due process under law and what it takes to force a medical procedure or force a medical device onto somebody who's considered a public health threat, and the rights that individual has, those due process rights. That issue has not yet been fully determined, but you can kind of read between the lines, so to speak, of the judge's ruling here to get an idea of what's going on. But what's fascinating is you've got this ongoing appeal from Governor J.B. Pritzker in the appellate court to somehow reinstate his mask mandate after the judge said it's null and void. But we've got other states that are doing different things here. New Jersey, Delaware, they're looking to get rid of their mask mandate. You've got the New York mayor indicating that they're going to make an announcement in the next few days. California is lifting their statewide indoor mask mandate. We'll see what happens with schools in California. But Illinois is an island when it comes to school mask mandates in the Midwest. If you look at a map that shows all the different states that have some kind of school mask mandate, Illinois stands out right in the middle of the Midwest as the only state that has that. So we'll see what ultimately the governor's response is to some of these other questions about the mask process, the mask mandates. Are we going to see any definitive metrics that means we're going to lift the mask mandate? The governor was asked that yesterday and didn't provide much clarity. But obviously, it's still a contentious issue, and we're seeing this play out here locally as well, and all across Illinois, with school districts taking a variety of different approaches. And one thing to also consider here is the school districts that the Illinois State Board of Education has said that they're going after for having masks optional all school year. I asked the Illinois State Board of Education if they're going to continue to pursue those particular schools that have had masks optional all year and have continued with minor disruptions. And ISB didn't really explicitly answer that question. Instead, they shared with me a statement that Dr. Carmen Ayala, the state superintendent of education, sent out to school districts, essentially saying, hey, we still support these mitigation efforts, and we encourage you to continue with those mitigation efforts. So, again, that's kind of some of the latest of where we're at with the mask mandates, still considered null and void from the latest court order, and the governor appealing that court order. And he's going to continue that, and we'll likely see it play out all the way to going to the Illinois Supreme Court. I'm Greg Bishop, and I'll be following it for you here with the WMAY morning news feed. You can also follow my coverage with the Center Square, where I'm Illinois editor. And it's a lot of bandwidth to be able to bring in all this news and to bring it to you weekday mornings as well here on WMAY. So I always appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts as well. And you can do that live and local, 217-629-7970. You can also email me, bishoponair@gmail.com, or find me on social media. Just search out Bishop on Air, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.